I don't know whether this is working. So, hi there, it's SJ again. Today I'm coming to you from my bed, as you can see. Um, I'm not entirely sure if this is working, to be fair, but I thought I would give it a go anyway because there are a few videos that I want to do in the future that are going to be live, and I kind of needed to know whether it was going to work or not. So we'll try this. We'll experiment. So I'm in my bed again. It's a bad pain day as per normal. Tuesdays are always one of my worst days anyway. And I was going to talk to you about something related to emotional reprogramming. But actually, today I was thinking about an incident that happened during my weekend and some rather malicious comments that were made against me. And it got me thinking that I often refer to myself as disabled because obviously I am. But when I'm chatting to people, or on the very rare occasions I leave my house, I put on this mask, I guess you'd call it. Um, Sorry, I don't really know where to look. I don't like looking at the camera. And it's got a light, so it shines in my eyes. Anyway, I put on this mask and I appear happy and comfortable and sociable and friendly and normal. I try and appear as normal as I can. And actually, the entire time I'm out, I'm constantly evaluating how much longer I can cope, how much I need to move, whether I'm likely to fall over or collapse, how long I'm going to be bedridden, trying to recover from the exertion of the movement that I have to make and the horrific pain that I go through. Anyway, it occurred to me that I very rarely actually tell people what it is that makes me disabled, especially those who aren't close to me. So, looking at me, other than seeing me with a walking stick or occasionally out on a mobility scooter or on my very worst days being pushed around in a wheelchair, I don't actually look disabled. I'm not missing limbs yet. That could still happen, but it's not happened yet. And I'm not marked in any real way. My disability is entirely hidden. It's invisible, and what isn't invisible, I've become a mistress of hiding or masking it. Um, so I wish I'd written down what I wanted to what I wanted to say now. So I'm just making it up as I go along. You'll have to excuse me. So I'm a biker, and few people know that I spent lockdown during COVID buzzing about as a volunteer, delivering PPE around the country. I did thousands of miles and was out most days, met amazing people, had a lot of fun, truly loved the freedom of it. It allowed me, especially as I was in the extremely vulnerable category. So I was unable to help in my normal healthcare roles. At least when I was in my helmet, nobody could get to me and I was contributing. And those that know me well will know that contribution for me is a really big thing. So once the various lockdowns ended, I carried on with my riding for charity, raising money, enjoying the camaraderie of being part of the biker family. And this particular day, I'd been out with four of my closest friends to a bike night, and we had taken the long route home. And as invariably happens on these things, one and then another dropped out of the ride as they got closer to their homes. And so by the end of it, there was only me and one other riding. And it was late at night, but the roads were clear. The weather was warm and dry, and we were heading towards my home to drop me off next. And my friend was in front of me, riding ahead, as I preferred to be at the back of the line rather than in front. And we got to a four-way roundabout, and he went straight over. I slowed down, took the roundabout to follow, and the the next thing I knew, a car was coming at me from the left, and clearly wasn't going to stop. Um, anyway, it was too late. There was no avoiding the inevitable. and time slowed down as it normally does in these situations. And I remember swearing over the intercom, and the next thing I knew, my left leg was crushed between the car and the motorbike. I then landed on the bonnet, and the bike landed on top of me. And after what felt like an age, the car stopped, and both the bike and I were propelled forward and did this weird dancing roly poly across the tarmac. You know, me on top of the bike, then under it, then on top, then under it, before we finally slid to a halt. And my leg exploded with pain, with the most horrific pain I've ever felt. And I've had multiple bilateral pulmonary emboli in the past. That's blood clots in the lungs. And I thought that was the worst pain I'd ever experienced. It was so bad, I begged them to just let me die to get away from it until that moment. And I was sure all the bones in my leg had been shattered. That's literally what it felt like. It felt like every bone had been pulverized. And anyway, my friend came and looked after me as I lay on the road, on the roundabout. People stopped to help and redirect traffic. An ambulance and the police were called. You know, the usual biker down, all the rest of it. Um, but they took such a long time to get there, and the pain was beyond anything I could handle. And it started to drizzle, and I remember really distinctly the feel of it on my face as I was struggling to stay conscious and awake because I didn't want to fall asleep. Um, in the end, the pain was so bad, I begged them to bundle me into a car and get me to the hospital so I could have some pain relief. And nobody was very happy about that, but I couldn't cope and I insisted. So they did as I asked and rushed me to A&E. Um, anyway, it turned out that despite having broken many bones in my body over the years, including my other foot, which I was so unaware of, I was still walking on it for a day before I was taken to A&E. And having given birth 8 times with minimal pain relief. In fact, with several of them, I didn't even realize I was in labor until a head popped out. So, obviously, I have a very high pain tolerance. It's one of my few superpowers. Um, Despite all that, and despite this horrific pain, I'd actually only broken the second metatarsal in my left foot. And of course, my entire body had been impacted. I had concussion and was covered in bruises everywhere. But my gear saved my life that day, and I'm forever grateful and a big voice for wearing all the gear all the time. Anyway, I thought I'd had a lucky escape. Um, but the pain continued to worsen. You know, I thought I'd be okay within a few weeks, but the pain continued to worsen. And a few days later, I was lying in bed screaming in agony. My foot was burning. It felt like someone had doused it in petrol and set it alight at the same time as they were taking multiple ice picks and chipping away at the bones in my foot. And I couldn't cope, and so I returned to hospital where I was checked over and given the all clear. Physically, my bone was healing as it was expected to. But at that point, I was told I was displaying signs of complex regional pain syndrome, CRPS, type 2 to be exact, which is brought on by a physical injury. So I'd never heard of it, and to be honest, unless you suffer it or know someone else who does, I doubt many people have really ever heard of it. And the first thing to say really is that it's not a mental thing. So this isn't something you make up in your head. It's not a mental illness. It's very much physical. So now, yes, it can cause mental illness or mental health issues because of the level of pain we have to live with constantly, but it's not caused by mental health issues. It's a very real, very horrific physical condition of the body caused by damage to the um, peripheral nervous system, which sends the signals from the brain and spinal cord to the rest of our body, and obviously to the central nervous system, which is the brain and spinal cord itself. So it's a malfunction between the peripheral and the central nervous systems. Um, so, to explain a little bit about the symptoms I suffer from every single day, non stop, continuously, um, and it literally never ends. My main symptom is obviously pain, never ending, unrelenting, uncontrollable, and untreatable pain. A horrific burning pain, actually, that feels, as I mentioned before, like someone has doused you in petrol, thrown a match at you to set you ablaze, and I'm burning. So I'm on fire, and I can feel it so strongly. I can feel my own skin um, dripping like melted wax sometimes. Um, I also get stabbing pain, like 1,000 hornets are stinging me, or worse, like someone has taken an ice pick and is hammering into my bones. And it's so realistic, it feels so real that I can feel the bones shattering, and sometimes even feel what feels like shards of bone trying to break through my skin. And it never ends. Um, I'm always in pain, literally always. And they don't call this the suicide disease for no reason, obviously. And yes, I've thought about it. I've contemplated chopping my own leg off to try and escape the pain. Wished the car had just killed me outright. Quite frequently, that one was for quite a long time. Um, and in my mind, I've come to terms with the fact that one day I'll reach a stage that I can no longer cope. Um, Although obviously I have no sort of thoughts of self harm or desires to harm myself at all at the moment. I like living, I like life. So my skin is extremely sensitive to touch. Everything causes me extra pain. So the clothes that I wear, the blanket on the bed, the breeze from the open window, water is a big one. My foot often appears swollen and discoloured, normally like a purplish or a bluey colour. It's so where you've got your 2 feet, mine has dropped and twisted to the side. Um, and the only way I can make it appear to be level with the other is to wear boots to hold it in its place. My nails on my feet don't grow, and my skin has changed from being really soft to um, being quite thin on my feet, and sometimes can be quite hard. So my skin is cold to the touch often, although my skin to me feels like it's burning or sweating. It's not, it's cold to the touch. I have very limited movement in my foot. So if I put the two together and do the same movement, although across the pair of them, although it feels to me like they're both moving, actually what will be happening is one will be moving and the other will barely be twitching. Um, so my originally affected foot, my left foot, I have very limited movement in, and I suffer tremors. So horrendous tremors actually that affects not only my legs but also my hands so badly that sometimes I can't hold anything at all or control my hands. I had them the other day actually whilst I was trying to eat dinner, and they came on suddenly without any warning, and I was unable to even hold my cutlery. I couldn't cut my food or get my hand from, or hold the cutlery to get my hand, to get, the fork from the plate to my mouth. And even when I could get it close to my mouth, I couldn't actually hit my mouth because my hands were shaking so much. Um, so I was physically unable to eat or do anything except sit and let the tremors do their thing. Um, and it's not just my leg that is affected anymore. It's not just my left leg that is affected anymore. it's spread to other parts of my body now, including my internal organs. So I have like bladder urgency since my accident. So I don't always feel the urge to go until I really, really need to go. I have muscle wastage in both my legs as I can barely walk most days, and now I'm struggling to eat food. I can't swallow very well anymore, and so often feel like I'm choking. So I rarely eat anymore. Maybe one meal a day, sometimes not even that. And what started in a small part of my left foot all those many months ago um, has spread throughout a significant proportion of my body now. So, whilst my left leg is the worst, it's now affected all the way up to my mid thigh. It's also spread into my right foot up to my knee, into my left hand, up to midway to my elbow. So, about there at the moment is where it's hurting to. Into my right hand, right up to my elbow. And obviously, it affects my internal organs too. I believe as well my teeth were affected as they suddenly started crumbling and became very brittle. And I've obviously spent thousands trying to be pain free and fix my teeth. Um, yeah. So I suffer headaches as well. I can't sleep. I have painsomnia as well as PTSD from my accident. I'll talk about my PTSD in a different video. I don't want to talk about it right now. Um, but the pain means I can't think clearly a lot of the time. I get anxious and scared when it comes to leaving my house or even just getting out of bed to do normal everyday things, as I never know whether I'll be able to manage it, whether I'll fall, whether I will be exacerbating the pain and making it worse by moving. And I've tried everything to gain relief from this, from nerve blockers to painkillers to lidocaine and ketamine infusions to cannabis on a medical trial, and nothing has given me any pain relief. And I've had to accept the fact that probably for the rest of my entire life, I will live every day in unending pain that so far nobody has found a way to minimize or relieve me from. And, at the point that I'm doing this video, I'm 41. That's maybe halfway through my life if I'm lucky. And knowing I'm going to have to live the rest of my life like this, it's 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 um it's its own mental torture. Uh, so yes, love to the lady who said I was faking my disability. I go out once a week because I'd become so isolated and depressed I didn't want to live anymore. But just because you see me looking happy, carefree, and normal, except for the walking stick, doesn't mean that I am. Sitting in the pub, hobbling to the bar or to the toilet a couple of times will mean I spend at least the rest of the week in bed trying to recover from the exertion, the exhaustion, and the pain that that brings. But realistically, what's my alternative? To lie in bed all day or sit in a chair all day, every day, for the rest of my life, with nothing to look forward to except the next pain filled day, hopefully never arriving. So, yeah, I don't look disabled, but I'd give anything to be able to walk again, um, to be free from pain and to be normal again. I may be alive, but in some ways it feels like my life ended the day of my accident, and chances are I'll never get it back. So I'll never be pain free. I'll never hike 100 kilometers in 24 hours for charity like I used to. I'll never ride a bike without wondering whether when I stop my leg will hold me up. I'll never be carefree enough that I can just nip out without planning for the days of recovering it will take afterwards. I'll never I'll never run in a park with my kids or grandkids. Um, I'll never be able to play or enjoy the sports I used to enjoy. I'll never work in the career I loved so much again. Um, I'll almost certainly never work again, as I can't be sure from one day to the next whether I'll be able to function at all or not. So I'm strong. I hide how bad I really am, but don't ever downplay my condition to me. You literally have no idea what happens in my home behind closed doors because I'll never let you see it. You'll never see me lying in bed screaming from the pain, waking up screaming in the night, and my 9-year-old daughter having to comfort me because the duvet touched my leg wrong. You'll never see me having to crawl on my hands and knees to get to the bathroom. You'll never see my 9-year old having to help me get dressed or undressed because I can't do it myself because the pain is too unbearable. You'll never understand the pain of my kids asking me to cook them their favourite foods, knowing I can't do it because I can't stand without falling that day, or my hands are trembling too much to be safe around the kitchen. You won't have to see the sympathetic looks or the sympathetic understanding on your children's face when you let them down again and again and again, because you can't do what most other parents can do because your pain is simply too much. And you won't have to sit and watch your child cleaning up after the pain got so bad it made you vomit, as you sit there crying in a heap on the floor because the pain is worse and you think you're going to be sick again. And you won't have to watch your entire life going past whilst others your own age are in their prime, knowing you can't participate. It's knowing you've got no way to secure your future for your later years, and the life you had mapped out in front of you in your head will never be the life you will actually have. So, yeah, it's a deep sadness. Yeah, I may not look disabled on the face of it because I hide it, because nobody wants to see me rolling around on the floor screaming in agony or crying all the time. And nobody wants to hear me constantly going on about my pain or suffering. It gets boring after a while. People have their own problems, they don't need to hear about mine. And actually, I don't want to talk about it either. And I think I'm done with this video now. Yeah, sorry. I don't think I can continue. And if you listen to all of this, thank you so much. And I'm sorry if I said anything terrible. I started meaning to be educational and went off on a tangent. But I need to go for the moment, and I'll try in future to do a better video on the effects that CRPS actually has. I'll try to do more another time. Um, Sorry. Love to you all. Hope you all have a great day, whatever you're doing, and take care of yourselves and each other. And yeah, love you all. Bye.